Welcome to Evergreen Speedway's Home Track Heroes on CW11.
And welcome to probably the most action-packed show of Home Track Heroes that we will have in 2021. My name is Kyler Hope, alongside for the second week in a row, Caleb Hart.
Nice to be back, Kyler. Thank you for the invite. Excited. We have got a gigantic variety of race cars and racing action to show you. I can't believe we're packing all of these divisions into these next 2 hours here on the CW11. It's going to be exciting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think we counted 11 different divisions that we'll show throughout the night. Normally we have 5, maybe only 4, so over the double amount of action, it's going to be a quick, fast-paced show, and I think I hear cars rolling down the track right now. We got the Vintage Modifieds. What a unique division to start off the show.
Let's cut right to it. Vintage Modified A-main event on the track for you here on Home Track Heroes at Evergreen Speedway here on the CW11. Very cool, unique-looking cars, and they'll run all over the Pacific Northwest. They make their home here at Evergreen Speedway. Excited to bring them to you.
Yeah, probably the most unique division in the nation, one could argue, is you don't see these anywhere else in the country. Starting out on the front row is the 37 of Mitch Woods, brought to you by First Day Electric, and is outside the 23X of Chad Brown.
Ed Beck and Mike Clother make up row 2. Beck's 15 car sponsored by Drake's Pizza and Subs. Clother's 7, Kevin and Scott Wrinkle sponsored.
And in row number 3, we got the 2 of Rick Villiard, sponsored by Archer Construction, and to his outside the 47 of Ken Kaltschmidt.
Yep, row number 4, Steve Woods on the inside, and the 22 First Day Electric sponsors him. Kyton Jones in the 30 starts 8th, sponsored by Benchmark Barrels.
And in 28, we got Shane Stramiel, sponsored by Aaron's Olympic 4x4, and his outside, the 24 of George Chambers.
Cale Cheth is tail end Charlie in the 23. Another First Day Electric sponsored car is just about ready to get to racing action.
Oh, yeah, they just got the one to go. Lights are out as you see the Chevrolet Pace car pulling into the infield. And what a great weekend of action. Beautiful both days. And here we go, the first main event of the night. Coming out of turn number 4, and John Peterson likes what he sees. Green flag is in the air.
Look at the speed that these vintage cars are carrying into the first corner of our 3/8 mile oval. They are carrying a ton of speed, and you saw the outside row of Brown get the big jump, but Woods really with the inside line battles hard back to the inside. It's going to be side by side coming down to the lead on lap 1.
Yeah, and you see them coming flying by your screen right now. Such a great looking pack of cars, a complete mixture of body styles, and some have front bumpers, some don't, and there we see the drone view of them coming off turn number 2 down the back straightaway.
So Woods leads early, Brown second, Clother third in the early going. 30-lap A-main events, you see that kind of a standard lap distance that we run here at Evergreen Speedway is the field beginning to sort out single file.
Yeah, and the 3/8 miles being used by the Vintage Modifieds for their main event, but that's just one of, I think, 4 or 5 different courses that you will see tonight. Very unique. Not many tracks in the country offer that wide variety of racing, especially in one night, as we see a great battle right here. That was the 15 of Ed Beck trying to rally back towards the front.
And he does rally, gets to the bottom side to close the door into the first and second corners. Kaltschmidt's now moved his way up into third from a 6th place starting spot, so he's on the move early.
Yeah, and there you see Steve Woods in the 22, that white and blue car with coming with a little bit of red frame as he goes by your screen right there. He's been very dominant in this series in years past. One of the more newcomers to the series as he's working his way, started way back in the pack as he battles on the inside of his teammate Cale Cheth, who you normally see in a street stock here.
Drivers, one of the cool things about Evergreen Speedway is you're going to see them in multiple classes over the weeks, as not every division runs week after week after week. So you have a chance to build multiple cars, come out, compete in multiple divisions, go for multiple championships, as we've got a battle down the back straightaway.
Yeah, that looks like it. The 2 and the 7, Rick Villiard and Mike Clother, continue to battle, and here comes Steve Woods carrying a ton of momentum on the outside right there.
Yeah, Woods is flying. Watch him work up to the back. Look out, Ed Beck smoking the tires, and turn number 2 spins out to the inside.
And he's going to fire back up and keep it rolling. Hopefully no yellow flag. I don't see it. Yep, no yellow flag. We stay green as we got a great battle for the lead. Ken Kaltschmidt actually took the lead that time by. You see him first place on the ticker over Mitch Woods as they continue to battle side by side going into turn number 3.
Yeah, Kaltschmidt's absolutely flying. Like we said, he started outside row number 3, and it only took him 7 laps to get to the front. So Kaltschmidt on the move and on the hammer, and you can see put a car length between himself and Woods there at the start-finish line.
Yeah, and the Vintage Modifieds will be back again on Mark Galloway weekend at the end of June. So check Evergreen Speedway social media and their website to figure out when to come to watch these awesome race machines going down here at Evergreen Speedway on the 3/8 miles. We have 21 laps still remaining as now Kyton Jones putting his nose in the mix, making it a 3-car battle for the lead.
Yeah, Jones really closed that distance quickly as we're going to flash back in the field and get a look a little bit deeper into the pack as you get the 23X of Brown, the 24 of Chambers, and more into that position. You're looking there at the 24 of Chambers, who is shuffling backwards.
Yeah, Steve Woods now inside the top 5. A little bit of a slow start for him in that 22 machine, but now he's rallying forward. We're used to seeing him up at the front of the pack.
Love seeing these modified style cars, and what makes them a modified is obviously the lack of fender wells over the top of the front tires. It puts the suspension a little bit at risk as you're out there. If you make contact on it, it's a lot easier to bend up the arm of an A-arm or hurt a spring, whatever else is on the front of it. So, like you said, very unique division of cars, and it takes a lot of precision to run them as you have to run very, very clean.
Yep, and speaking of clean, that was not a prime example at all. As there you see, that was actually your second place driver, Kyton Jones, making contact with the 37 of Mitch Woods, bringing out the first caution. How about this view on the front bumper of Kyton Jones?
Let's take a look at him as he comes down the front straightaway into the corner, and then all of a sudden, oh, thanks for the love tap, and around he goes.
Yeah, and how nice is it not having a wall right there on that 3/8 mile? It saved a lot of cars over the years, as here we see them going flying by the front straightaway, and just a little bit of contact, enough to send Kyton Jones around for the first yellow flag, but we got that cleaned up. Is there the one to go from John Peterson? Still 19 laps remaining in this A main event.
So Ken Kaltschmidt will lead. Woods still sitting in the second position, as they will single file restart. We don't see that in very many divisions here.
Yeah, most divisions, or most of the track rules at Evergreen Speedway call for a double file restart for all divisions, but this is a touring series, so it's not Evergreen sanctioned class, so they have their own rules, and they're one of the very few that you'll see restart single file, but doesn't mean the racing will be any less exciting.
Well, it certainly puts a little more strategy on the leader, as you don't have to worry about somebody to your direct outside. That start line that's in play coming off the fourth corner, you don't have to worry about a guy being even and side by side with you. It's just a little bit more freedom for him. Your second place guy, a lot of onus on him not to be asleep at the wheel per se and be able to keep up in the restart. Otherwise, it's free track position.
Exactly, and you saw a very slow pace brought to you by Ken Kaltschmidt coming to green flag. Maybe a little bit of mind games, wowing up the field a ton before hammering down on the pedal, but I don't think that fooled Steve Woods at all.
Well, Kaltschmidt's a pretty wild veteran, wily veteran, I should say. I've seen him in multiple divisions over the Northwest. He's driven some open wheel stuff. I think I remember him in a late model back in the day as well. So Kenny knows how to restart a race. He's been in this position a lot of times, and right now enjoying a car length on Woods, but Woods not letting him get away.
Yeah, and we see the 23 of Chad Brown getting very sideways, getting into turn number 2. That is, or turn number 1, might I say. That is your third place car, battling hard with the 24 of George Chambers, who started way back in the pack, but is making a charge forward.
Cars look like they've got a good amount of power in them. As you see Kaltschmidt enter the corner wide, door open for Woods underneath, but he couldn't quite step through it through 1 and 2. Coming up on halfway home this time by.
Yeah, I think Steve Woods knows, oh no, there goes the 24 around. That's George Chambers we just talked about. As he goes around going into turn number 2, there you see him coming to rest up there. I think he avoided any tires, and well, we got a camera on the tires, so we'll see if he avoided them. Just hangs 2-3 tires off on the dirt, and that's not what you like to see as he spins it out on the banking of turn number 3 to avoid any more contact with the drivers. So safe play. See him tagging the rear end of the field right there, so he's able to continue. But I was trying to say, Steve Woods, I think, knows that he has a little bit of time to kind of size up Ken Kaltschmidt, because they've still got 16 laps remaining. It's still just under halfway.
Yeah, he's not going to let too many opportunities like you just had in turn 1 and 2 pass him by. I mean, it's one thing to catch him. It's a whole other story to get up side by side with him and then drive past him as well. So we'll see what Woods chooses to do if he pushes the issue a little bit further as we come back to green this time just before the halfway point.
Yeah, Ken Kaltschmidt did that same really slow-paced restart again, and I think Woods is all over him this time. So we got a great 2x2 battle for 3rd through 6th.
Might be one of those considerations as well on Kaltschmidt's car that maybe he feels like his starting gear coming up and through, he doesn't build speed quite as early. May want to take a very slow restart, make sure guys have to stay in and behind him getting into the first couple of corners while he builds up his head of speed. you'll see guys whose engines launch fairly well, is the terminology that I'll use, really choose to hammer down a little bit earlier in the corner so they can get a little more space before the start-finish line goes. In this case, maybe not so much.
Yeah, as we see a great battle still for that 4th, 5th, and 6th position, but Steve Woods is not really letting him go away, as there we see the 30 of Kyton Jones rebounding nicely after that spin in turn number 1 that brought out the first yellow.
Yeah, Jones moving his way back up and through the field as you saw some cars leaning on each other right in behind him. Jones back up to 4th, threatening for a top 3 as battle for the lead once again. Looking to the inside was Woods. Carl Schmidt again gets down to the bottom of 3 and 4 and says, not this time.
Yeah, Steve Woods really trying to size him up, and like you said, I don't think he's going to let too many opportunities go away as he continues to battle through turns 1 and 2. Oh no, we got smoke going down into turn number 1. That was the 23X of Chad Brown, I believe, as you see fluid going up to his car. That's not what you want to see, as we will see a couple replays here and figure out exactly what happened.
So Brown coming into the corner, and you can see by the nature of that, that's like a motor lets loose, drops the fluid onto the tires, spins them out right away. Very rough break for Brown, who started on the outside of the front row and had a chance to make a little noise. Unfortunately, his night ends early.
Yeah, that was Mike Clother. You saw that bright blue number 7 car also got in the fluid and spun out. Thankfully, didn't hit the 23 of Brown and spins out, goes in the grass, a little bit of off-road action. But, yeah, unfortunate break there. Hopefully, we'll be able to see Chad Brown get that car fixed and see him back out here in a month or so.
Well, here's the good news for it. From the place where he blew the motor up to the place where he went off raceway, it's a very narrow strip of racetrack. So it didn't take track crews all that long to get the Speedy dry down, get her cleaned up, and we'll get back to action right away here in the CW11 without having to take much of a delay.
Exactly. We got 12 laps left in this vintage modified feature. First time out in 2021, and Ken Kallschmidt, I think, is getting slower with every restart.
He's crawling. That is snail's pace at best here.
And Steve Woods is almost getting sick of it, telling him, hey, but let's go. We got a race to finish.
Well, that's one of those things that the second, if I'm Kallschmidt, that I see him pull out of line and has his tires pointed outside in the groove, I'm gassing her right there. Because at that point, Woods has to correct the car, get the tires coming back around that way, get the whole rest of the car coming around that way. That'd be a huge advantage just in terms of how they accelerated and through. And Kallschmidt didn't let him get too far out there before he hammered it down and went go.
Yep, 11 laps remaining as Kallschmidt drifts way up in turn number 1 and 2. I think that's almost his preferred line, kind of more doing like a diamond in the corners and getting a good drive off. Steve Woods just does not quite have enough power to get alongside of him yet, as he will continue to size up Kallschmidt with 10 laps remaining.
Well, there's another explanation potentially for you, is that Kallschmidt is a veteran. Fatigue's a factor in these things. These are not easy cars to drive. There's a lot of power. There's some weight to them as here comes Woods. Woods has got to look to the inside coming off of 4.
As they are side by side, drag race down to the start finish line. Looks like Woods had him at the line by about a tire, and we have a new leader with 9 laps remaining. That's Steve Woods, and a pack of cars battling for 3rd place behind them.
Yeah, 1st and 2nd is now becoming academic at this point in time. They are long far and gone, with Woods taking off from Kallschmidt. Here's the look: 3, 4, 5, and 6. Throw a proverbial blanket over the top of him as it's Villiard hanging on to it now, but he's got some hungry dogs behind him.
Yeah, Cale Cheth obviously knows this 3/8 mile better than most of these drivers, as he's spent many years behind the wheel of a street stock here, trying to get underneath Kyton Jones and get around Villiard. Maybe a 2-for-1 special for him, but not quite enough room for him to do that coming off the corner.
Jones making him fight for it out in the upside groove. Jones and Cheth, 4-5. Hunting down Villiard, who's right ahead of him.
Yeah, and just look at the difference in the length of bodies between Kyton Jones and Cale Cheth's machine. I think Cale Cheth might have 2 or 3 feet in chassis length in the 30 car.
Also, though, you look at wheelbase, pretty similar. You know, front wheel to rear wheel, they're in about the same position. As they get into turn number 3, this is a whale of a battle on the outside groove. Kyton Jones pretty close to making her go, as he's almost side by side with Villiard, just 5 to go.
Yeah, Villiard looked really tight coming off that corner. Couldn't quite get the back end around on the car. I think that's really hurting him, trying to run that bottom groove, as Kyton Jones will clear him going into turn number 3, and Cale Cheth trying to go around Villiard as well.
So Cheth out to the outside, and he's going to pick up a spot. Might have had to make that move a little bit earlier, and he could have had 3rd position with a chance to hold off Kyton Jones. As is, now he has to chase him down and hope for a mistake.
Yeah, and I don't think that'll come from the 30 of Kyton Jones. He's been behind the wheel of that car for a while. As we go back up front with your leader, Steve Woods, just 3 laps remaining, and Ken Kalschmidt isn't quite out of the picture yet.
No, Kalschmidt not quite out of the picture, but again, you still see that drift going into turn number 1. We talked about fatigue. These have been some long green flag runs for these drivers. Again, the veterans, unless they're in really great racing shape, and you said this is the first time that we have seen them this year, unless they're in really great racing shape, the cars don't get any easier to drive as the race goes on.
And especially on a hot day like it was today, it's definitely adding hot temperatures inside that cockpit, and possibly first time out in the year for Ken Kalschmidt as we see Steve Woods angling off the corner, white flag in the air, 1 lap remaining for Steve Woods.
Woods, Kalschmidt, and Jones, all 3 of them, lots of space in between their next nearest competitor. They'll roll through 3 for the final time, and our podium tonight going to be headed up by Steve Woods in 22, give Ken Kalschmidt second, and Kyton Jones third.
Yeah, it looks like Cale Cheth will come home fourth, and I believe that's Rick Villiard hanging on for the 5th spot as we see as a 37 going around, I believe. Mitch Woods, your pole starter.
Very end.
As we will not be doing any podiums this show just due to the amount of on-track action, so you'll be able to check out Evergreen Speedway's social media and YouTube page for all the podium interviews after the show airs, as we will be right back with more racing action here on CW11.